Welcome to Musing on the Bard. I'm your host, Sally McLean. On today's episode, we welcome the brilliant American actor Laura Gardner. Based in Los Angeles, Laura appeared on Broadway in Smile, off-Broadway in The Cocktail Hour, Other People's Money, and Welded, directed by Jose Quintero. She toured nationally in Showboat, Doonesbury, Oliver, and My Fair Lady. Her extensive regional credits include the Arena Stage, Huntington Theatre, Cleveland Playhouse, McCarter Theatre, and the NC Shakespeare Festival in roles that ranged from Lady Macbeth to Miss Hannigan. Los Angeles credits include 6 plays for the Pasadena Playhouse, Westwood Playhouse, Tiffany Theatre, Fountain Theatre, Deaf West, and the Celtic Arts Centre. She is a member of the Rhode Theatre and Rogue Machine. Some of her TV and film credits include guest star appearances on Chicago Med, Law & Order, SVU, SEAL Team, Animal Kingdom, Outcast, The Romanoffs, and Criminal Minds. You may have seen Laura and her actor husband, Frank Collison, recurring in the NBC hit, My Name is Earl. She was also the lead in Marriage Material, a short film Oscar finalist in 2019. During the pandemic, Laura kept busy doing 3 Zoom benefits for the Actors Fund, 2 performances of Marilyn, Mum and Me by Luke Yankee playing his mother, Oscar and Tony winner Eileen Heckart, which she later performed to raves at the International City Theatre in Long Beach, and Sitting and Talking by Leah Romano with Frank Collison and directed by Dawson Moore. She also taped a radio version of Janice Goldberg's stage play Rose-Coloured Glasses, and much more. Laura was on the faculty of the Howard Fine Acting Studio in Hollywood for over 19 years and then at the Satellite School in Australia. She has taught actors with disability in Los Angeles and Berkeley and taught in New York City at HB Studio, Stella Adler Institute, and the American Academy of Art. She teaches workshops all over the country as well as in Great Britain. She was the drama consultant for the Compton School District, and she's been a featured artist at the Valdez Theatre Conference in Valdez, Alaska for the last 19 years, where she created the Monologue Workshop. Shakespeare Republic audiences will remember Laura from her poignant and deeply affecting work as Constance from King John in Shakespeare Republic All the Webster Stage, The Lockdown Chronicles, a performance that saw her awarded alongside the rest of our amazing cast for that season with Best Ensemble Cast Drama at the 2021 British Web Awards, Best Ensemble International Narrative at the 2021 New Zealand Webfest, Best Ensemble Performance at the 2022 London Webfest in the UK, and nominated for Best Ensemble Performance Drama at the 2022 International Academy of Web Television Awards in the USA. So settle in, get comfortable, and join us in this wide-ranging and inspiring conversation about Shakespeare, acting, teaching, and more with today's guest, Laura Gardner.
When I first started being an actor, or thought I was, I used to think it was getting away from myself. And it was trying to be other people. It was trying to run away from who I was and trying to show you things. And the longer I've been on this earth, I realize that the thing that I love about acting is that it gives me the opportunity to get deeper and deeper into myself and to reach out and touch other people and to find this connection with the human race. If I have been able to touch another human being, to allow them the opportunity to feel as though they've been heard, if I'm on a stage or in a film or a TV show, or if something occurs in an interaction I have in my day, which is impacted by being an actor, if I can touch someone and they suddenly, and I don't mean necessarily physically touch, but there's something that occurs because of who I am and they feel as though they've changed a little bit. That is a gift to me about being in the arts. And not so much about being in the arts, it's different about being an actor. And I know that there was a while when I was thinking about what it was, what my purpose in life was. And there is an American writer, Edgar Lee Masters, and he wrote a whole series of short poems. And I think that it was his answer to Shakespeare, because he was writing a bunch of epitaphs about a little town in the 1800s of all these people who had died. And one of the guys who he had written was somebody who talked about being a port in the storm. And I used to think I wanted to be a port in the storm for people. And what I realized many years later is what I really wanted to be was a catalyst for change. And to me, being an actor, being an acting teacher is so rich in that I have the possibility of helping people to change, of helping people to see something different than they've seen the world before. And to me, that's what acting, that's what theater, that's what film and TV is, telling a story so people can go, oh, I never saw it that way. And God knows we need to see the world in a different way right now.
Laura Gardner, welcome to Musing on the Bard.
Thank you for inviting me, Sally.
Yes, everything that you have said there, wow, really resonates. And I think that's something that can be misunderstood, particularly about actors. Many actors I know, I mean, everyone's in the business for different reasons. Obviously, we're all different people. But there is a very strong through line of, usually, that I've discovered, of wanting to enact some kind of positive experience or positive change in audiences and in, the way that you interact with colleagues, the fact that not only is hopefully the audience affected by that and therefore changing the way they see the world, but the work can also hopefully have that impact on the company that's performing the work as well. As actors, we tend to also learn more about ourselves, more about our colleagues, more about our fellow humans. When I was at drama school in London, we had one director that worked on the West End that came to work with us. And she said something that really stuck with me, which was that all creatives are kind of the shamans, the modern shamans of society. And I kind of look at that and go, yeah, we're the storytellers. We're the ones that were by the campfire telling the stories of the people that we belong to, and using our imaginations to paint the what ifs, to inspire and to warn and all that sort of stuff. And that hasn't changed in millennia. Just the way we do it changes now as far as the mediums we perform in. But yeah, and I thought that I liked that. That really stuck with me. And that was a very long time ago, and it still sticks with me. So yes, ditto is the short answer to that. Yes. Well, I mean, I think to start this conversation, obviously we've started talking about acting, and you talked about, your original reasons behind becoming an actor. When did you kind of feel that draw towards the acting world? Was it something that came to you quite young, or did it happen later in life?
Well, when I was a kid, I wanted to act. I wanted to act and sing. There was no question in my mind. It started at 4 or 5. I was playing the piano and sounding things out, and people thought I was going to be a concert pianist. And I learned how to play piano. I learned how to play guitar. I started singing. And I think that the reason why I went more towards acting is because I thought that singing was a gift and I didn't have to do anything about it, but acting was what I had to work on. And what ultimately happened was that because I didn't keep a discipline with my singing, I actually ended up hurting my voice. For those of you who don't take things seriously, I was still a trained singer, but I was sloppy. And so I was doing a big tour, a Broadway musical tour, and I injured my voice, and I had to get surgery, and my voice never was what it was when I was young. But I did, after that, my career was just so wacky, because my career went sort of sideways, because it's never been a linear career, because I wanted to sing, I wanted to act, and because we're talking about Shakespeare here as well, and because I started this by saying I wanted to be someone other than myself, I was trying to remember when I first wanted to do Shakespeare. And when I was in junior high, I have a twin sister, and I'm 5'7", and my sister is under 5 foot. We were in, what was it, junior high, 7th grade, and we had Mr. Belgio, and we were reading Romeo and Juliet. This is just coming to me right now. And my twin really hated that I was reading Juliet with it was 7th grade teacher, Mr. Belgio. He was reading Romeo. It's crazy. So I didn't know what I was saying because I had no idea what Shakespeare was, but I wanted to emote. I wanted to feel, and I had no idea what I was saying. But I think that was my first Shakespeare connection to Shakespeare. And you can flash forward because I think we may have done Julius Caesar, but it was all mumbo jumbo to me. It was just, I'm going to talk and say these words because it sounds really good to me. So I will say whatever it is. And then my first real Shakespeare was working at a theater, in a professional theater in Nashville, Tennessee. And the guy I dated was with that when we were working together, he was a Shakespearean actor mostly. And that's most of what he had done. And I had never done a Shakespeare play at that point. So he coached me on, of all things, the piece that I did for you on Constance.
Right.
And I auditioned for the North Carolina Shakespeare Festival for the Scottish play. That was at the age of 27. So my first Shakespeare was at 27, Lady Anne.
But what a one to do. I mean,
oh my God, it was incredible. And my second that was the first one I did there. And my second one wasn't until I did Kate. And this is a great story because I knew that they had cast Kate and Tammy of the Shrew. They had cast it. So they were they were doing a wacky production in Boston. And so they said, why don't I just make some crazy choice? It would be to understudy Kate and to do a couple of other roles. They weren't sure what, because they were going to do men, women. And it was a friend of mine. So I did Fie, unknit that threatening, unkind brow, and dart not scornful glances from those eyes. They were on the floor. For those who don't know, that's a Brooklyn accent.
And it's hilarious. Oh my goodness.
Cool. So they cast me as the understudy, and I ended up replacing Kate because she got thrown by the Petruchio. They hated each other. And I went on as Kate. That was my second. And then while I was doing that, someone from the arena stage saw me, called me in to go down and audition to play Audrey and cover Celia and Rosalind at the arena stage in Washington, D.C., which I got. And that was my third Shakespeare, As You Like It, at the arena stage, all within 3 years. So, and I had never really done a strict Shakespeare class. I had worked on Amelia, who I loved, at Rutgers, but I never did a strict Shakespeare class. What I learned from some really wonderful people was not to do Shakespeare, but to do what you have people do, which is to actually be a humanoid, speaking the language of the heart. And what I have to say, a plug for you, Sally, is that, and when I was listening to Dame Judith Dench talking about it as well, is that I realized for so many years, I was listening to what people said about, you have to do this. And if you don't do this, and if you, that it was so frozen. And what you said about this is, Shakespeare wrote for the people. And I can't imagine Shakespeare sitting there going, you didn't do my comma there. That I watched you doing one of the sonnets the other day. And if I can understand what someone is saying and doing, then I know that the actor is doing Shakespeare correctly. It's about the this lasts so many years, and that I'm hearing it as if it's for the first time because it means something and it's making sense. And that for me was, so that's how you asked me a lot, how I got into all of this. The language is language. Shakespeare is so extraordinary because for me as an actor, getting the chills, it gives me this opportunity to chew. And when I think about when I did Lady M, I had the Variorum and I had 20 different books and I was looking through to make sure that I did it the right way. And it's so much simpler to really come out of my heart. I have to know what it meant then, and I have to know what the connections are. But then as in any good actor, my job is to let the work come through me. Because who's up there? It's me. And when I'm authentically up there and letting the language come through me, then the audience goes, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I feel, I connect. I'm in the middle of an authentic experience.
Yeah.
That's too much?
No, not at all. Everything you have to say, Laura, is incredibly valuable and look, this is why you're a great teacher as well as a great actor, because you are very articulate and very good at putting things in ways that are easy to grasp onto and understand. So thank you. Yeah, look, I think that is the one when I'm teaching Shakespeare with students. And I'll give occasionally a Hamlet speech and I'll have a student freak out because it's Hamlet, and it can happen with any of the, the big 10 Shakespeare characters that everyone's a bit nervous around, but Hamlet's probably the biggest one people get nervous around. And that is exactly correct. It's got why do we have Hamlet still performed? Because if an actor is truly connecting to that character and finding themselves in the character, we're getting a different Hamlet every time. The dialogue may remain the same, but it's a different person, so it's a different experience. And so, yeah, the key is always to connect and to say the words out loud. I mean, you talked about being in school and having that first experience with Shakespeare, and I am really glad that your teacher basically said, yes, let's play with this, rather than let's just read it out loud off the book one at a time going around the room, which is unfortunately what my introduction was, because it just doesn't work. It's meaningless. But to do what you did, which was actually play with the dialogue, that is exactly how it should be approached for everybody that's first coming to Shakespeare. And my advice to anyone out there listening to this, if you're, and I've said this before on this podcast, but I'm going to say it again because it's worth repeating. Even if you're on your own, even if you don't have someone to play with the dialogue, just read every role out loud while you're reading from the books, the collected works of Shakespeare, the complete works of Shakespeare. Read it out loud, play with it, hear what it sounds like in your mouth and then in your ears, because it's actually going to give you more of an idea of what he's talking about. If you're just reading it quietly in your head, sure, you'll get some comprehension, but it's not going to give you the full experience. And you will miss things, And to every actor, and I know, Laura, you agree with me, every actor out there, if you've got to perform a Shakespeare piece for an audition or whatever else, start by reading it out loud, please, to your dog, to your plants, I don't know, whatever, to your housemate, to your partner, but read it out loud so that you are hearing it, because it's chewy, that language. I mean, there's a muscularity required as well to do that. And the sooner you're getting used to that idea that you need to articulate, you need to, consonants, they're a thing, use them. The T's and D's, the consonants are really important. So no, I love it. I love it. That's fascinating. It's fascinating as well that you went basically from not doing any Shakespeare really to suddenly 3 productions in 3 years at professional level and those roles. I mean, Lady M, my gosh, Kate, oh my gosh,
Oh, that was crazy. And the first night I went on, it was a preview and they were trying to get me into the costume for the last scene. And they broke the zipper. And suddenly I heard Kate's last speech being done. And it was one of the guys knew it. So he just started doing it. So the show kept going on. It was crazy.
That's hilarious.
it was a wonder. I was very lucky to do Kate, but I did Merry Wives, and I was the cover. I went on with maybe 2 rehearsals for Mistress Quickly. That was crazy. And the first performance was during the day at this place I was telling you about. It was the Theatricum Botanicum outdoors. So you could see everybody. And I remember my heart was pounding so loud. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. And my mentor, best friend, Carol Rosenfeld, who teaches at HB Studio, was her colleague, teaches the Hagen Institute, created it. She was there for my first performance. I was like, I cannot believe my parents were there. It was unbelievable, full house. And I went out and it was so much fun. And I think I did probably 10 performances for Quickly. And then I did Mistress, whoever, one of the other mistresses. And so I got to do both characters. It was so much fun. And then I know I wanted to do Paulina. I love Paulina. I feel like it's like, I should be doing it. I should be doing it every day. I should be performing Shakespeare every day. Hire me.
Absolutely, people. You need to hire this woman to play whatever Shakespeare character you like. But we have got now a wish list appearing, so you know what to do. She's very easy to find online to get the contact info, and we will be giving that out at the end of this episode. So, yes, people, please hire Laura Gardner to do lots of Shakespeare and other things too.
And other
please.
things. Yes.
Other things, all the things. That would be good. Absolutely. Having a think about the various Shakespeare experiences that you've had and characters you've played, what would you say has been your best experience? And I use that word kind of with hesitation, but the experience that you felt you got the most out of, and what were the things that you learned about yourself as an actor or about Shakespeare as a playwright or the plays? I mean, what did you learn from that experience?
I loved doing Lady Anne, and it was the first, it's true, but there was something about the rage and the hunger and drive and the love and passion and fearlessness, do you know? And there was a lot of my mother in Lady Anne, and the sadness. And I'm really glad we're talking about this, because the role that I'm working on now actually has some of, Lady M's loss of everything is sort of where this character I'm working on right now. I hadn't even put that together, but the sleepwalking scene is so the devastation of the loss of everything that she had hoped for. And when I saw the last one, the Denzel Washington and Elizabeth, I love them both, but the production was not, I always see things and I go,
Yeah.
And I just, even though I did it, it's over 40 years ago that I did it. I don't know about you, but any Shakespeare I've done, most roles, but particularly Shakespeare, that's still in my body. I remember being up there. I remember I had a holograph. I have a holograph of a rose. I used that piece in the show. And I will tell a story. When I was studying with Uta Hagen, I did a scene with Phoebe. For me to do Phoebe I used to be very, 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 very heavy. And in my 20s, I dropped close to 70 pounds. And so for me to do Phoebe, trying to be adorable with Rosalind, was a really big deal for me to put myself out and play kinds of actions, flirtatious, coyish, that. And Hagen said, "Oh, darling, you fell into every trap." I wanted to say, "You're wrong. You don't know. I just really put myself out there." But it's interesting for even an acting teacher who doesn't know. It's something for me as a teacher to know. Sometimes we don't know where someone's coming from, and to assume. So for you acting teachers out there, it humbled me in the years later when I realized I don't always know. So I really love doing Audrey as opposed to Phoebe, because Audrey was not very bright. Laura's so bright. So for me to play not bright, but goofy, and that goofy part of Laura, the sweetness and touchstone is so adorable. And then I had to be prepared to do Celia and Rosalind. And Franny Conroy, who was on 6 Feet Under and American Horror Story, that's who was Rosalind. So I was, covering some pretty big people back in, the days. So
Absolutely. Audrey is a wonderful character. I agree. So much fun. Phoebe can be really fun, but if you're in that position, and I very much relate to your story there around going from being heavier to suddenly not, and the assumption that you've always looked a certain way, it's confronting as all get out. And so that led to a very good point. Thank you for that. For acting teachers. Look, acting teachers generally, guys, it's not a power trip. You don't know everything. I hate to break it to you. Be open to your students teaching you as much as you teach them in different ways. And you're correct, Laura. Don't assume. Please don't assume, because that's how damage is done. Yep. It's hard. And it doesn't matter how respected a teacher you are or how good a teacher you are. You can still do damage if you're not careful, I will give everyone the benefit of the doubt. They don't mean to, but it can happen. Yep. Actors are fragile. We're fragile, peeps. I'm sorry, but we are. And when I say we're fragile, I don't mean we're fragile little snowflakes. What I mean is there's a vulnerability required. Laurie, you know this. I mean, gosh, being an actor as long as you have been, there's a vulnerability, and a teacher, and you're an excellent acting teacher as well, because you've also taught me, so I know that, is that there's a vulnerability in what we do. And there are moments, particularly in acting class actually, where we will take that extra risk and we'll be more open and more vulnerable than what we might be in our careers at that point. And that's a huge responsibility that a teacher then has on their shoulders to take care of an actor. You don't have to mollycoddle, but just take care of as you go. I've been in classes, and Laura, I'm sure you have too, where there are teachers that just don't, and they're not there for, I think, the right reasons, and there's a lot of power tripping going on. And my advice to any actor listening is, if you are in that situation, just please leave the class if you can.
Yes.
The damage is not worth it. I speak from experience, but the damage is not worth it, because you will be undoing that for a fair while afterwards, and that'll just hold you back. So don't allow other people to take your power in that way. It is not okay.
It's really important for an actor to know that if you're feeling unsafe, it's probably because you're unsafe.
Correct. Yeah, 100% yes. And I haven't seen that disproved, to be honest, at any time. And I've had friends that have been in that position. It can also happen with work as well. Obviously, it can, unfortunately. Human beings are human beings. But particularly in a class, you don't have to be there. You can walk out.
Pay for it. And it may be also, I do want to also say that sometimes the teacher is just not the right person for you. And so sometimes it's not about, the alarms are going off. Oh God, I'm unsafe. It may be, there's so many teachers out there, and I don't believe in you dancing around from teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher. But, it's really important to listen to your heart, listen to other people. I don't think that you can learn a technique in 2 months or in 3 months. I also don't think that some people stay at a studio for 5 years and then they go, gee, golly gosh, why haven't I? If you haven't shifted at all, if things haven't. I stayed with the Hagen technique and with people who taught Hagen's technique for probably 10 or 15 years. I really did. That was my home. But I did study with different people there. And I did sometimes, and I was way at working. And in the last few years, I haven't stopped studying. So I'm still studying, and I will, and I take singing lessons still. And I love to be teachable, because when we stop being teachable, we're dead.
Yes. 100% yes. Yep. I'm not actually going to argue with Laura here on any level, because I actually I 100% agree. And I can say that with all honesty, hand on heart. And look, we know this, Laura, because we've known each other a while now, and we do share very similar views on the industry and on the technique and the craft. And yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I started, we've had, this of my history. When I went to drama school in London, they were predominantly based in Hagen technique, but that doesn't mean that I kept learning just from those same teachers. I came and did work with you. I've done work, obviously, with others in that teach Hagen as their primary foundation for what they're teaching, but it's all different inputs using that same technique. And that just is what works for me. Might not work for other actors. That's fine. Find the technique that works for you. But yes, being teachable for life, that's actually the thing we were told when we graduated drama school. Don't think your work has stopped now in the learning front. You will be learning for the rest of your career, and make sure that you do. So, that's absolutely correct. Looking at this is kind of the flip side to that previous question around performing Shakespeare. What has been your most difficult experience performing or working with Shakespeare text, and what did that teach you?
I would say the only difficult experience I had was at one place that I worked, they put things up too fast and there wasn't enough rehearsal. Right. And it was usually when people were doing replacements. And so they thought that it was okay to have very little rehearsal and just throw people in. And that is not the way I like to work. So that was just not good. And that's just the way it is. And maybe without naming any places or any place on earth where it is, but it's just that to me, particularly with Shakespeare, but anything. And the older I get, the more rehearsal I would like. But rehearsal for repetition is not what I like either. I like rehearsal for exploration. But the need to really know what you're doing so you can then release it, that's what's really important. So, and with Shakespeare, I have a deep respect for the language, and I hate it when people just feel like they can say whatever they want and change things however they want.
When we worked on Constance for Shakespeare Republic, all the way up to the stage, the Lockdown Chronicles, which is essentially the season 3 of the series.
Oh, I wish we could do it again.
Oh, hun, I know, me too. Oh. I hear you so clearly there. And look, I mean, who knows? With the technology is still here. Maybe I won't commit myself too heavily to that, but you never know. You never know. Because again, I mean, so many of the cast, yourself included, are not here in Australia with me, so that I really want to work with again. So we'll see what we can do there. But doing that work, we rehearse. And look, we may not get to, unfortunately, rehearse for hours and hours and hours, which, in the perfect world we would have, but we still rehearse. And we have a couple. We had, the initial conversation and then work and then play and see what works and throw stuff at the wall. Then we had the break of time. Then we came back and did another one, because you can't just, and this is the other thing, as you know, Laura, film and TV doesn't always give you rehearsal time, which I wish they would, because things would be so much better. So as actors, we have to learn to do a lot of that work on our own for those mediums. But I will always insist with what we do that there's rehearsal, because it's, apart from anything else, there's also the language and making sure that, and I'm working with people that have had, either a fair amount of Shakespeare experience, but I've also got actors that have never touched Shakespeare in their life and need that time to build the confidence with the language and the text too. But as you say, even if you've done a gazillion different Shakespeare roles, you still also need to find the time for confidence and all the rest with the text, because it's different every time. So yes, I can understand how that would have been tough with anything not getting rehearsal. So in that situation, did you find that you were going away and rehearsing as much as you could on your own, or were you grabbing, did you have time to do that?
I did whatever I could. This was I think we performed 4 shows or 5 shows a weekend. So I did whatever I could, but you can imagine it was on the fly. And so it was over before, it was really every man for himself.
Yeah.
Costume changes, every man for himself. And it was not great. And I find that when you're not doing a really professional production, you're doing something that pays, but it's not top notch. And I think that that's what may happen. And it's really about, I suppose there's the other way of looking at it, which is how wonderful. This is probably the way it was done back in the Stone Age, or Shakespeare's time, that let's just have fun and just, because truly, the reality is, even when we're doing film without rehearsal, that the important thing is to really just find the truth and the love and the authenticity in the moment, because guess what? That's all you have anyway. And I can, any moment, I mean, this is the old Laura, the old wise Laura saying, all we have is right now, so we may as well embrace that. And you could remind me of that next week when I complain about what happened on set Friday and Saturday. But the truth is that today is all we have. And so the importance of embracing and using whatever we have. That's it. And the truth is that Shakespeare or live theater is now. And if we're filming something, it's now. And so there's a wonderful film that's being shown around right now called Showing Up. And it's about auditioning, but it's about other things too. And must have been produced 15 years ago, because it's like Nathan Lane 15 years ago, well-known actors who are Pat Hingle, who is a wonderful actor. And it's all talking about auditioning, but it's also talking about performing. It is so brilliant. We just watched it last night. A friend of mine sent it to me. Actually, it was a student of mine who sent it to me. And it was so good because it really talks about why do we do this and what's behind all of it. And the need for us as artists to get out there and the level of vulnerability that's in an audition. But the truth is the level of vulnerability that we as artists, the desperation that we have, that this is what we must do. This is what we must do. We don't stop doing it.
No. It becomes a compulsion.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and I have said this before on the podcast, but I think it is a vocation. I think those that stay, those that continue to be working right the way through their life, it's because it's a vocation rather than a career per se. The two are intertwined, but we're drawn to do it. We're kind of compelled to do it. And yeah, absolutely, that lends an air of deep vulnerability, really, because it's what we kind of feel called to do. So I think not to get too kind of ethereal about it, but I think it is something that's what definitely keeps me going. And there've been times, and I'm sure Laura, you've had times too, we all do, where, I mean, I can't speak for you obviously, but I know for myself personally, there've been times where I've turned around and gone, that's it, I'm done. I need to step back. I don't know if I'm going to come back. I'm out. And that lasts maybe, I think the longest it's ever lasted is a week. And then I can't help it. I'm drawn back in again for whatever reason. There's an inspiration or there's a thought or I get a phone call, you've got an audition or whatever, and I'm right back there without a question, without a second thought. Because we do doubt ourselves. I know I doubt myself quite regularly. Am I in the right? Should I be doing this? Is there something else I should be doing? This is a random question leading on from that thought process. If you could do anything else other than acting, is there something else you would do? Another career, another profession?
Well, I'm too old now, but if there was something else, I probably would have rescued animals. I probably would have been could have been a therapist, but I think that teaching acting has an edge, kind of that there's something. I don't mean to be a therapist, but I work very well with people. I think that I have an empathic personality. I work with a woman from Ukraine. I work with her. We're supposed to be teachers for Ukraine. I was supposed to be helping this woman from Ukraine who's now in Germany with her English, and basically we talk once a week. We talk what's going on. She's an actress, and she left Ukraine to do a play in Germany, and now she's trying to figure out what to do with her life. So I got nothing to complain about with my life.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, isn't it? I actually think about it occasionally, and I had a real interest at one point in archaeology, and then it was like or anthropology, and then I went, oh. Actually, well, good news, as an actor, at some point I can play that, which is great because I'll have a huge interest in doing that research. But I think that's the other thing that appeals to me about being an actor is that we get to explore different lives, different careers that are out there that we maybe might have had an interest in at some point. Hopefully we'll get the chance to do that. And that's probably also why I probably started creating work, so that I could also give myself the chance to go and walk down those roads.
Great director and writer. You are so good.
Oh, Laura, thank you.
You're wonderful.
That's so kind. But it's something, again, that I think I find all that fascinating. And I do kind of think that's partly what appeals to me about the acting thing is that I get to look at other people's lives and try to understand them. And hopefully it makes me more empathetic as a human as life goes on. Because gosh, if it's not, then I'm doing something wrong. I think we need to be, and it helps then with the writing and all the rest of it to be able to walk in someone else's shoes. That's probably also why I think actors tend to be quite outspoken about things, because we walk in other people's shoes and it does give us a different perspective that maybe civilians don't get normally because they're not doing that. Yeah. Coming back to Shakespeare, why do you think Shakespeare endures and continues to be performed so widely?
I think because the language ends up being so surprisingly present, even though it seems poetic. It's like, wait a second. I mean, this little, is it here? The sonnet, this 116th sonnet that I end up having to do more of than I was supposed to on Friday, that's what I'll be doing when we get off the phone. It's beautiful. You probably have it memorized more than I do.
No, seriously, don't. No, sonnets are still things I'm still.
Oh my God. I mean, it's love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, so how simple is that? How beautiful is that? So if we say, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. I mean, that is simple language that is so beautifully and specifically written. And I can look at that and I immediately feel like I'm a better person. Love's not time's fool. Oh my, of course I'm going to be drawn to Shakespeare because I immediately feel like a better person. I feel love alters not with his brief hours and weeks. So I feel that to be able to speak this language makes me feel as though I understand the world a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And, there's a novel, I can't remember the name of it right now, of course, but it's about a young girl who goes back and forth in time or is writing this thing, and then you have it back in time. Maybe if you haven't, I'll see if I can find it and send it to you another time. But she's writing this and I think she gets it in her dreams or something, whereas this woman who realizes that it wasn't Shakespeare who wrote it, but it's actually a woman who wrote all of Shakespeare.
Right. I
don't know if it was or not. I don't know if there's proof, but the book is great. This novel is great. And the fantasy that it was a woman who wrote it all, I don't really care. Actually, I don't really care. Well, I do if it's a woman who didn't get the opportunity to be known. But right now, that's not my issue. My issue right now is that there's this beautiful language that we get to chew. Shakespeare can elevate or can reach anyone. It's about just giving people the opportunity not to have it be this thing that it's absolutely anyone can take it and understand it if it's not kept away from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, and again, going back to us working on Shakespeare Republic, that's a speech that is not done terribly often from King John. And it's it's a shame because it's a beautiful speech. But again, you talked about that simple language. I think a big part of it too, and I know that you agree with me on this because we've talked about it, is that the actor really connecting and understanding what's being said, then that is something that transforms an audience watching and listening. And it's this lovely kind of chain reaction that occurs. And working with you, I mean, gosh, Laura, your work in Shakespeare Republic with me was just breathtaking. And I really know it really was, because your authenticity, your connection, I mean, you do your homework and but you also have this talent, and that's, as we know, the to get anywhere in this industry, you have to have both. You have to have the right work ethic, but also the ability. It has to go hand in hand. But that's just that whole performance was just, heartbreaking, and it was called out as being heartbreaking. I remember it was, I'm trying to remember which journal it was, for an academic journal on Shakespeare, that actually pointed out that that was one of the really affecting performances from the series that really got that particular academic who'd watched it and was writing this article about it, because it just felt so grounded and authentic. And that's such an important thing to remember with Shakespeare, exactly what you said. You're not standing on a plinth saying words. It actually has to connect. Otherwise, because that's what he wrote it for. It's not for you just to sound clever. It's there and written in such a way. And as you said, if you give yourself over to the words, to the language, if you understand what you're saying, it's going to do a lot of the work for you. So trust it. Trust yourself in the process too. That's what I always say to people when I'm working with them. Just trust yourself in the process. Homework's done, great. You're just going to jump off that ledge and you'll fly. It's fine. It'll happen. But trusting is part of it as well. And the language does so much work, as you said. It does. It opens doors and windows of perception and perspective. He was very clever. Did he write the things? I don't tend to get into the authorship question because I kind of get a bit annoyed about it to a degree. I find it slightly elitist, this whole, oh no, this guy that never went to Cambridge or Oxford could not have possibly written all. It's like, oh my goodness, please get over yourselves. The thing about a woman, I mean, there were female poets at the time. They may not have been English per se. I think there might have been one that was English. Most of them came from Europe. And he did have a couple that were friends of his. So there may have been contributions to his work from women. And I'm quite sure, as I do as a writer, he probably turned to his friends at the pub and went, just talk me through how you would see this so that he could write about it, because it wasn't his lived experience. They've also just recently in the last 5 years, basically looked at the writing and the language and all the Henry plays and realised that Christopher Marlowe probably co-wrote them with Shakespeare because of the way certain passages are written. Some are Marlowe's style, some are Shakespeare's. So there were Elizabethan writers' rooms, no question. I'm quite sure of it. But I think you're right about also before we talk about the immediacy of the work and the moment you've only got now. I mean, yes, they were working very much on their instincts and very much with the language they were given and letting that affect them as well. Yeah, and there is original practice that's being done out there with similar way they would have rehearsed and performed back in the day. And it's terrifying, I'm quite sure. I don't know if I'm really up for that yet, but, but it is out there, it's happening, much like original pronunciation is a thing as well, because we are intrigued by that. But still going to say, if you can rehearse, please rehearse. Anyway, back to Shakespeare. If you could ask Shakespeare one question, what would it be?
Did you really want only men to perform it, or was that not up to you?
Good question. Because having read his works, as you know, and you've played many of the roles as well that he wrote a lot of strong women.
Yeah.
Excellent question. Well, we've kind of, talked already about your philosophy of acting and how you see acting, but how do you see the role? I mean, we've touched on this already, but I guess looking at the current climate, looking just at the world as it has been for the last little while and potentially a little bit into the future, how do you see the role of artists and creatives in context with society? And that's also tying in slightly to Shakespeare, because I think he also had something to say about his times. But how do you see artists' roles and actors' roles in society generally?
Well, I think that now, probably more than ever, we need to really try to make a difference. We need to wake people up. We need to comfort, cheer up. I just did a reading of a play in Alaska and at our theater company in North Hollywood, California, about a prayer circle, a group of people who are capable of killing people through prayer.
Wow.
A really interesting play. And it was very successful in both places. And it makes you think. And it is about the things you're thinking of. It doesn't mean that it's successful because they do kill one person, but it's not necessarily successful in that there's more behind that person. But it does make you think, and we'll see if that show is going to be produced somewhere. But I think it's really important that we find ways, and I think that artists have always done that, to keep things moving and changing, and we're there no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't add anything to that. I think I absolutely agree. So that means that I'm now going to get to my quickfire Shakespeare questions.
Right.
Favorite Shakespeare character?
Kate.
Yeah. Favorite Shakespeare play?
I know it's supposed to be fast. Othello.
Very good. Favorite Shakespeare performance that you've seen?
Yeah, I saw it in person, getting the chills. I think I wrote you about it. I saw Meryl Streep and Ralph Julia do Taming of the Shrew in the park. It was unbelievable.
That is amazing. Favorite Shakespeare character you've played?
Lady M.
Yeah. Describe Shakespeare in 3 words.
Outrageous, deep, powerful.
Great.
Where would you like to see Shakespeare Republic next?
Oh, good question. Good question. Okay, well, without giving away state secrets. So I am looking for another home for streaming the series, because I think it being publicly available on YouTube is great, and that's fine, but I think it also just gets lost in a lot of the noise that's on YouTube, and it wasn't its original home. We had a couple other places that sadly no longer exist, streaming platforms that were hosting it. So I'd like to be able to bring that, what we've already done, the first 3 seasons, just find a home for it that can reach more people than just our YouTube viewers. But yeah, I was going to rest it for a little bit, and then I've had some ideas for season 4. So I think there potentially might be a season 4 coming up at some point. That's going to come down to money, and I've got to get really clear on how that's going to work. And I would really like to see Shakespeare Republic. I mean, I don't know. I know of a couple of schools that actually use the episodes in their English classes to help kids sort of get into the Shakespeare thing. I know there's been a couple of schools in America that have used it, just in high school. And there's been a couple of schools here in Australia that have used it. And it's just been teachers that have found it and gone, oh, I'm writing to you to ask, is it okay to show this to my students? And I was kind of like, that's actually partly why it was created. So go for it. But yeah, having a look at how do we get it into the educational realm a bit more, because really these bite-sized Shakespeare pieces were built to be also used in that way. So I guess that's sort of, yeah, I'd like to see that happen. And look, at some point, maybe we do a full play on screen. Maybe. I don't know yet. It's going to come down to how much energy and time that I have, and again, funding. Because as you know, it gets to a point, we all were doing stuff, particularly through the pandemic, we were doing stuff where we weren't getting paid, but we kind of need to all get paid. So we really do. So it's, yeah, that's kind of my very rambling answer to that. Because I actually haven't thought hard and long yet about really what to do next. I actually have had nearly a 2-year break creating anything. So the last thing we shot was Walking Shadows Volume 3, and that was November 2023. So I'm kind of in a rest period at the moment as far as creating. This podcast is the first thing I've done since then.
Okay.
So I think I need that time, because it's been basically a decade of constantly producing work.
Wow.
It's taken a bit of a toll, I've got to confess, not just on me, on the whole team as well, So, and it always costs us money out of our own pocket, even if we have some funding, we end up having to pay for some of it as well. So financially, it was also a case of going, maybe we just put the brakes on that for a bit. The reason, though, and everyone still thinks I'm actually actively producing at the moment, because we've got things on the film festival circuit. So It looks really busy, like we're doing a lot of stuff, but no. Not, but yeah. So season 4 of Shakespeare Republic is definitely something that I've had an idea for it, and then that's morphed and changed in the last probably 12 months to something different. And I'm deciding whether it will work or not. But it's going to get a little more creative, a little more offbeat than what we've done before. That's all I'm going to say.
That's great.
Thank you for the question.
Oh, you're welcome.
Because you're making me think more about it, which is really helpful.
Okay.
No, that's excellent. All right. Well, finally, do you have anything coming up that you can talk about? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, well, there have been a few short films that have come out. One, I don't know if we'll go to Australia. One was called Big Sur, beautiful short film that's been out at a number of different short festivals. Another is Miriam, about an Orthodox Jewish girl who wants to, instead of becoming bat mitzvah, she wants to skateboard. And I play Orthodox grandmother. And that's been doing really well. And then I'm shooting, as I was saying to you, I'm shooting on Friday and Saturday a wonderful short film that is called Amparo and Lucy. And it's about a woman who lost her husband and has now taken to speaking in her own version of Shakespeare verse. And she, at the end, does a big chunk of the 116th sonnet. And it's an extraordinarily interesting, bizarre character. And you really helped me put together tonight that part of my who am I, because I've been trying to sort it out, because it's not linear at all, is that it really is a little, although I don't kill anyone, it's a little, I'm in my own world. It's a little Lady M. I'm very in my own world. I'm wandering. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to my husband who's dead, but he comes back as a ghost and he gives the maid's daughter money. And I mean, we're talking about a really bizarre film. And yet my character is always talking, and I'm talking on the phone. Am I really talking to my daughter? I think I am.
Wow.
I don't know that that's true.
Right.
So this is all I'm just putting this together, and we're shooting on Friday, because his answers is when it's interesting. You're working with a director who just wrote something he's wanted to write, but it's this sort of odd piece that goes in different directions. So all I need to do is tell the story from my view. So it's really an odd and interesting piece, because there's only one or two moments where I actually talk just like straight. The rest of it is very elevated.
That is really interesting. Yeah, again, I mean, look, again, directors, writers, everyone's going to have their idea around what it is. And part, as you know, part of that process, I often say this to my students as well. And I think you've said this to me, actually, which is possibly where I got it from. But that idea of, as long as you know what's going on as the character.
He can't get in my head, so he has no idea what I'm thinking.
Correct.
He's just happy with what I'm doing or saying, and the fact remains that someone who is mentally ill is never on one plane. And so this is that's what I'm working on now. And I coach privately and I coach on Zoom. So Acting with Laura is the website, actingwithlaura.com.
Definitely work with this wonderful woman, because you will learn so much, and it will also bring out more of who you are in the process, which is incredibly important.
You are a delight and a fabulously talented woman, and I am so grateful to have you in my life. I really am.
Love you, Laura. Always, always, always so grateful to have you in my world as well. Yeah, I mean, this is the other beautiful thing that I love about being an actor and a creative is the connections that can be made with people. You're getting me emotional. I'm getting emotional. But, you know, the connections that can be made with other amazing people, and the fact that we can do this I mean, we were lucky enough to work together in person and make that connection. But the fact we can continue to do this from other side of the world from each other is not the same, but I'm so grateful that still exists. So we mentioned the Acting with Laura site. Where else can people find out more about you?
Did you just Google me, Laura Gardner, actor? I think that Acting with Laura has everything. Actingwithlaura.com pretty much has everything,
Great.
Pretty much up there. My acting, my teaching. And if you go on the Google, it'll have the acting website has a lot of my clips so they can see it.
Which is excellent, because you need to hire Laura.
And you could go on to IMDb. My stuff is on some of it's on IMDb too.
Absolutely. Yes. This has been an absolute pleasure, as always.
Did. I have to walk the dog.
Yes, you have to go walk the dog.
She's over at my desk going, She's very Shakespearean. She's very dramatic. She is very dramatic. She's perfect for this family because there's nothing. She's very. You want to go?
She's been so well behaved.
Yes,
she's been very good, but I love that she's letting her feelings be known. So on that, Laura Gardner, thank you so much for being part of Musing on the Bard. It has been a joy, as always, to speak with you, and I look forward to keeping everybody involved in the world of Shakespeare Republic and beyond informed with what you're doing. But I wish you all the best for filming coming up this weekend.
Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. I've been your host, Sally McLean, and this has been Musing on the Bard. You can read more about our work, all our guests, and this podcast at our official website, musingonthebard.com. If you want to see the video version of this podcast, head to our Patreon. Links are on the site. This podcast was made possible via a small events grant from the British Shakespeare Association. Produced by Incognita Enterprises, edited and presented by Sally McLean. With thanks to all of our guests and our Patreon patrons for continuing to support our work. Until next time, I wish you health, wealth, and happiness. See you anon.